Hello all, my name is Abdurrahman, and in this video I am going to create a company database that I have shown you in the last video. So in the last video I have showed you a company table like this table I have shown you in the last video which contains employee table, which has branch table, client table, and works with table. After that we have branch supplier table. So we have all of these tables that I have explained you in the last video but in this video I am going to create these tables in a SQL by doing code. So we have this in the blue color. So whichever cell is in the blue color, it is the primary key, and whichever cell is in the red color, those are the attributes, and which are in the green color, those are the foreign keys. Okay, so in this table we have one primary key, two foreign keys, and five attributes. And in this table we have two attributes, one foreign key and one primary key. After that we have same one primary key, one attribute, one foreign key, and we have two primary keys and one foreign key. And in this table we have only one attribute and two primary keys. So these tables are related to each other, like this employee table. So we have employee ID William Thomas, he has employee ID of 100, and his let's say that Edward James has employee ID of 1 or 2. Okay, and then he was born on 1969 and he is male and his salary is this much, and his super ID is 100 and his branch ID is 2. Okay, but here we have Edward James and his branch ID is 2, which means that he works in whichever branch he works, that branch ID is 2, which means that he's working in cybersecurity branch, and his manager ID is 1 or 2. Okay, and then we have manager start date, which means that when the manager started working and when he became the manager, and etc. Okay, after that we have branch ID, and then we have this branch ID is like, okay, but one more thing, we have branch ID of 2 and he works in the cyber security and his manager ID is 1 or 2. But his branch ID is 2, right? And his branch ID is 2 here, which means that Dunmore School, his client ID is 400. Understood? Like that. After that we have employee ID and the client ID, which means that, for example, you write something and then you have total sales of 55,000. Okay, and then we have in the branch table we have branch ID of 2, right? Okay, but here if we see the branch ID 2, which means that branch is supplying something to another branch. So cybersecurity branch is supplying Uniball or Hammerbill, so these to some other branches, or okay, and then what we are supplier type paper and writing inserts and etc. Okay, and we have supplier name, we have branch ID, we have supplier type, and we have employee ID, client ID, we have all of these. So now I will be doing one more thing. One thing is I will be opening my SQL, and then okay, so now it's already open. So now what I'm going to do is, in the last video, before that video, we have created the table, pen drive table. In that place we have pen drive table, we have made lot of changes, we have modified that code, but now I have cleared all of the things, but I didn't have deleted the table. So that's why I'm going to use is drop table. Okay, and then I will be giving is pen drive drop table pen drive. Okay, after that I will be running this program. As you can see here, it's showing rows affected is 0 and it's showing success, which means that the table that we have created in those videos, which was pen drive table, right? So which means that it is deleted. But one more thing I want to say is that in these videos I am not just going to create this table like this employee table, this branch table, this all of this table, but I am going to define the relationships like the branch ID and the foreign keys that are relating the tables to each other, like this branch table and this employee table are relating. So I'm going to relate these tables and I'm going to populate this table in SQL. Oh, so okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open, okay, I'm going to remove this, which means that it has been created, it has been deleted the table successfully, and then I'm going to save this one, and now I'm going to open this page. Okay, and I will be keeping these two windows like PopSQL and this PDF PDF window side by side because we have to see what it is. Okay, so let's do that, and after that we have PopSQL. Let's okay. So now what I'm going to do is we have to create the table, right? So we have employee ID, the first name, the last name, the DOB, the gender, the salary, the super ID, and the branch ID. So first of all, what we have to do is we have to create tables. So for that, I will be giving here is create. After that, I will be giving table, and which create table which me, and after that I will be giving employee, or let's give small. And first of all, what we are doing is we are going to create the employee table. Okay, after that I will be giving the brackets, and now here I will be giving employee ID, that is emp ID. So employee ID, and then so first of all what we are doing is we are creating the table, as we know. So the table name is employee, after that we are giving the brackets, that is very much, and I have to give here semicolon, and employee ID. After employee ID I have to give is int, because we have in the employee ID column we have all of these numbers. Those are the primary keys. So in that case I will be using, in this case I will be using is int. Okay, int, and then primary key. Okay, after that comma, and then I'm going to, what we have is primary employee ID we have first, after that we have first name. Okay, then the last name I will be remembering this one. So we have first name. After that first name, beside first name I have to give is varchar, because here we have William, Prithvi, all of these are characters, these are the alphabets, so that's why I'm going to use here is varchar. So here varchar. After that the brackets I will be giving is like, so in the pendrive table, that there we have used is 20, right? So how many characters that you want to show? So we have given is 20, the maximum, but here I am going to I'm going to add some more 20, that is 40. Okay, because these names are somewhat big, we might make the changes later on. Okay, so that's why I will be giving the 40. Then we have last name, and then we have again varchar 40 again, this comma. Okay, otherwise we will be getting the problem on later on. Okay, and then we have first name, the last name, and then we have DOB, date of birth. Okay, so that's why you will be giving is DOB, and then let's do one thing, let's give capital to all of them first. Okay, the last DOB, and I will be giving, so DOB is what? First of all we have varchar, we have so employee ID is the int with, so this column has just all of these numbers. After that we have the first name which has characters, that's why I have given varchar. After in the last name also we have characters, that's why I have given varchar. But in the DOB we have date of birth, we have 1961-05-11. So here we have int, but we are getting the dashes these years, right? So for that I will be using one more thing known as date. Okay, and we have date. Let's remove this one, date comma, and again we have is gender, right? Dob date. Let's okay, and then we have date, and then we will be having is gender. Okay, and we have gender, right? So gender is varchar only. We okay, and in this case I will be giving only one or two, because one or two characters, because we have only mf all of these, like, right? So that's why I will be giving one. If we give like 20 or 10 or 5, then there will be lots of data, and we won't be having the space. Okay, that's why I will be giving one, and after that comma, and again we have salary. Salary, and the salary is int. After that comma, again we have is super id, right? Let's give in the small super id, and okay, we have super id. After that it will be int, because all of them are int, right? So we'll be giving int. Super id is int, comma, and then again we have branch. Branch id is also int, right? Yes, branch id is also int. Branch id is int. Okay, and so now what we have done is we have created the table, right? So we have create table employee, which means that the name of the table will be employee. After that we will be having first name and the last name, and then we will be having varchar, and then varchar, so we need 40 characters, and dob, which means date of birth, and we have given here is date, because if we give here int, we have these dashes, so it's in the form of date, right? So that's why I will be giving date, and then gender, which is varchar, and salary is int, super id is int, and then branch id is int, which means that we have created all the table, but we have to run this table. So now let's run this program. We have all of this, right? So I will be clicking here and running this one. So now as you can see here, it's showing is you have an error in a comma. We have, I think it's getting because we have given in the capital letters. So let's do one more thing. Okay, let's make the screen big. After that, let's see what's the problem. So we have employee id. Let's know first the last dob, and gender, salary, all of that. Okay, and now let's click here and run this program, and again it's getting is branch id int, super id. We have an error, and it's showing at the line number 10. So we have some problem, it's showing that. So we have all of these, and comma, this one. Let's, instead of this, let's give this one, and okay, line number 10 it's showing. So it's better. So everywhere we have closed their brackets, and it has its bracket, it has and now run this one, and we are getting the error. So now I will be pausing the video and I will check the error. Okay, so the mistake that we have done here is like every end of it. Let's give one thing. I have done the mistake. I will show you. We have the OB, and then we have gender, and then we have salary. Super ID. What we have done is in the end of every line we have given comma, because we are writing some more code in the next line. But in the end here also we have given branch ID int and this comma. So that's why we are getting error, right? Then I will be removing this one, and now this program. And now as you can see here, it's showing like success was affected is 0, which means that it has been created successfully. The table has been created successfully, but I'm not going to describe the table right now because I have to create some more lot of tables, right? So I have to create a branch supplier table, branch table, and then I have to create each branch, all of those table. Okay, so okay, I will be clicking all of that and deleting. And now the next table that we have to do is like we have to do is branch table. So it has branch ID, so it has one primary key, one foreign key, and two attributes, right? So in this case I will be using is we have branch ID, branch name, and manager ID and manager start date. So first of all, let's create the table branch. For that I will be using is create table branch table. Okay, after that I will be making this, and now here I will be giving the branch ID. First we have branch ID, so which is this one. We have branch ID which is int. We have in the branch ID we have all of these are columns, so that's why I will be giving here is int. Okay, after that I will be giving, and one more thing you forgot is branch ID is a primary key, that's why I will be giving is primary key. Okay, we have comma, after that branch ch branch name. Okay, and then we have branch name is so branch ID, branch name, manager ID, manager start date, and branch name, manager ID. Okay, so branch name is like the branch's name, the name of the branches. So this is the characters, these are characters, and that's why we will be giving manager ID, manager start date. Okay, branch name, so varchar in the brackets I will be giving again is 40, because we are going to modify that later on. Then I will be giving manager ID. So manager ID is a foreign key, and it's in that column all of them are numbers. So that's why I will be giving int comma manager ID int comma. After that I will be giving is manager start date, manager start date. Okay, and manager start date is it's actually type of it's a date, right? 2006 whatever it is. So it's year, date, and all of them. That's why I will be giving is date as I have given before, and I will be removing this one, and then again comma. And now here I am going to define that manager ID is foreign key. So that's why I will be giving foreign key. We have foreign key, and in the brackets I will be giving is mgr ID, because manager ID mgr ID is foreign key, so that's why I will be giving mgr ID. After that I will be referencing this one, references then employee. So it references to the employee, it relates to the employee table, right? So manager ID is connected to the employee table. We have to the super ID. So we have employee ID. So if referencing to the employee table, employee, after that I will be in the brackets, I will be giving the name of the column that we are referencing, that is empid. Okay, and then after that I will be giving on delete, after that set null. Okay, so we have set null. So about this one, about on delete set null, I will be explaining this about on the in the future videos, like I will be talking about on delete and set null, which I have not talked about, I think. So till now I think we have not talked about on delete set null. I will be talking about that. Okay, so now I am going to create this branch table. So now let's check once, like this one. We have all of the things right or not. We have employee, this employee ID, the first name and the last name in that case. Okay, so I have to make this that much smaller. Okay, so now let's run this one. As you, okay, sorry, so it's showing the table branch already in just. So I have created the table before only, but by mistake I have closed this tab. So I have created the employee table and the branch table, and we have created the, but we have not inserted the data into the tables, but I will be inserting the data into the tables on later on. So one more thing I said is on delete set null, I will be talking about this in the future videos, in the later videos. Okay, and one more thing I want to show you guys is that in this branch table we have created all of the table. We have branch ID, we have all of things, but we didn't define the manager ID here, but we have defined the manager ID that it's a foreign key. Okay, but if you remember, if you pause the video and go back and see the video, and there what I have done is I have not given super ID and the branch ID, right, as the foreign keys, right? So I can't give that because I have to relate these tables to these two tables. So for that, let's run this one because I think I don't remember. Okay, I have created this table. So for that I'm not going to define that. I can't define here also because this is the branch table, but in the branch table I can't define it. So that's why I'm going to clear all of these things, and then I'm going to summarize a block of SQL code. Okay, so that is alter after the table, alter the table, and then that is employee table, and then add foreign key. So we have to give each add foreign key because in the employee table we have branch ID and the super ID, but there we don't, but we have not defined them as the foreign keys. So that's why I will be giving key, foreign key, and then branch ID. After that I will be giving is references, and we are branch. Okay, and then we are referencing this, we are relating these two tables. So references to branch table, and then in the brackets I will be giving is branch ID. After that I will be giving on delete set null. Okay, and delete set null. After that I will be writing one more block of code for supervisor ID, because what we have done is for the branch ID we have written this block of code for saying that, so branch ID is a, for defining that branch ID is a foreign key, and but we have not defined the supervisor ID as foreign keys. That's why I am going to define the supervisor ID supervisor ID by writing some more block of SQL code. Okay, so that's why I will be giving is again alter the alter table and then employee. After that I will be giving add foreign key, that's going to be supervisor ID, and add foreign key in the brackets I will be giving is super ID. Okay, but again I am going to reference this, but this time I am going to reference this to the employee table. So that is add foreign key and references to the employee, and in the brackets I will be giving is emp ID, and then on delete set null. So as I said, I will be explaining you about on delete set null in the future videos. So I will be running this, clicking here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to click here and run this one. Then after that I will be clicking here and running that. So because these both of them are different block of codes, so here I am defining the branch ID as foreign key, but here I am defining the supervisor ID as the foreign key. So that's why you will be clicking here and running this one, and it's showing is success 0.2 seconds, and this rows affected is 0. And after that I will be clicking here after alter table. Let's click here. It's also showing is success, rows affected is 0, because we have defined both of them, right? We have defined both of them as foreign keys. But okay, so we have created the branch table, we have created the employee table, this one employee table, and we have defined supervisor ID and the branch ID as foreign keys, and we have already defined manager ID as foreign key while creating this table. So we have created this table only, but we have to insert the data, so we will be doing that later on. And now what we have to do is we have to create the client table. So that's why I will be giving here is, so I will be clearing all of it. Okay, so now let's create the client table. Okay, so for that I will be giving here is create, okay, and then create table, that is client, no, we have to give the client table. So we have client, and okay, after that we have client ID. Okay, so it will be, we have client ID and the client name and the branch ID. Okay, so client ID we have, that is int, as we know. After that I will be giving is primary key. Okay, after that it's also primary key, right? After that I will be creating okay, now we have its client name. Okay, and then we have its in the varchar, and in the brackets will be giving is 40. After that, comma, branch. Okay, and branch ID int branch ID, comma, we will be having foreign key. Okay, foreign key, and okay, we have foreign key, and in the brackets I will be giving is branch ID. I will be referencing this branch ID, comma, after that, right, branch ID references to the branch table, and then branch ID. Okay, after I will be using is on delete set null. Okay, so as I said, I will be talking about on delete set null on the future videos. So here I will be giving is like this one, but now I am going to create the client table. So now let's run this program. So we have is rows affected 0 and we have rows affected, okay, so we have rows affected 0. So which means that the table has been, the client table has been created successfully. So till now we have created like some tables, three tables. Okay, we have created employee table, the branch table, and we have created the client table, but we have not inserted the data. But again, as I said, I am going to insert this data into the tables later on. So now let's create the works with table. Okay, so here we have, okay, works with table, we have employee id, client id, and the total sales. So I am going to clear all of this, not this one, this one, and save it. Okay, so works with table is going to be pretty unique because it has composite primary keys, and this, and each component of this table is a foreign key, right? So that's why it's somewhat unique, I think. So let's go ahead and create this table. So now I will be opening, yeah, employee id, client id, and total sales. So remember this one. So now let's create the table here itself. So for that I will be, okay, here we have is create table, create, no, create, and then we have create table, and we have, so the name of the table is works with, okay, and after that we have, okay, and now let's do like this, and then we will be defining, we have employee id and client id and the total sales. So let's remember this one. So let's give the employee id, and it is the int. So in this table all of them are int, right? So let's give here also branch, not branch, client, and it's the client id, and it's also int, and again comma, and then we have total sales. Total sales we have. After that I will be int, total sales is int. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to define employee id and the client id as primary keys. So I have not defined here, but I'm going to define that in another way. So that is, I will be giving I think I've shown you this way, but I'm going to do this again, primary key, and but in the brackets I will be creating this one, and employee id comma client id. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is comma, and then again we have foreign key, and that is key, and again I'm going to do is employee id is also foreign key, and it references to employee, and then emp and id. Okay, and after that I will be using is one more thing that known as on delete set null. So from that time we were using on delete set null, but now I have changed that. So I will be using is on delete cascade. Okay, cascade. So I will as I said, I will be talking about null in the future videos, but same of cascade in the future videos. Okay, so now let's do this one. I will be copying this whole line and copy, and I will be pasting here. So we have primary employee id, right, and the client id. We have client id, and it references to the client table, client. Okay, no, let's do that. Okay, employee id. So instead of that I will be using is client id, and then I have on delete cascade. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this program. So let's run this program, and it's showing is at line number 7 you are getting the, I think I'm getting the error because of this comma, because as I have get the, okay, as now, so it was getting the error because of this comma. So from the time I have not given that comma here. Okay, so the error we got is the same as we have got in the last time. So we have created the works with table, and then we have created client table, we have created branch table, we have created the employee table, and now let's see how many tables are left. Okay, so we have left is one branch supplier table, these two tables, no, only one table. So I have just a type of table I have created this because just for the reference. Like for example, if you are seeing this table after so many days, then you should not be confused. So in that case you can see the primary key, whichever cell is in the blue color is primary key, whichever is in the green those are the foreign key, and whatever is in the red color those are the attributes. So we have created the all of the tables, but we have to create one more table known as branch supplier table. So now let's create the final table, which is branch supplier. So now I'm going to close and I'm going to make this small, and after that, okay, and now I'm going to select all of this and delete. Oh sorry, one more thing I forgot here is that we, in the branch table is similar to the worksheet table, but it has composite key, and both of them are like primary keys. Okay, and it has attribute supplier table. Oh, one more thing I have done mistake while creating the table is, while creating this table is total sales is in the green color, so it at that place I have to give was attribute, so it has done by mistake. Okay, so it will be pretty much confusing, so I will make this correctly. Employee ID and the client ID, so it's pretty much similar to the works with table. So I am not going to delete that code, but I am going to just keep all of them as it is, and I am going to make somewhat changes. Okay, so here we have PopSQL. Okay, here we have PopSQL. So create table, what I want to create is branch supplier table, branch supplier table, and then we have, instead of employee ID we have branch ID, BRANCH branch ID. Okay, and it's int, and then we have supplier name, supplier name. So supplier name is not int, so if I show you here, supplier name is not a name but it's a character, so that's why I will be giving for supplier type, and supplier name I will be giving is varchar. So here instead of this one varchar, and then varchar, and the brackets I will be giving is 40. Beside that, to supplier name we have, and now what we have to do is supplier type of supplier. Supplier okay, so we have supplier type, and then I'm going to remove this and varchar, and the brackets I will be giving is 40. Okay, we have this primary key as same, but here we have primary keys are branch ID and the supplier name. So let's remove this one, branch ID and supplier name. Supplier name, yeah, okay. After that we have foreign key, and in the foreign key I have to remove this one. Let's do one thing, let's remove the last one, and okay, and foreign key we have, instead of employee ID let's give here is branch ID only. Why not we copy from here? paste here. So we have branch ID and we have references to branch table. Let's remove this ID branch. Okay, and then in the branch here we have to paste here is okay. And then I will be having on delete cascade. So as I said, I will be explaining about cascade in the future videos. So now I'm going to create the final table. I have written all of the code, but I have not run this code. So let's click here and run it, and we are getting the again same error we have done. Is we have given the comma, we have not done the error, we have not done it. So we were having two lines like foreign key, and we have having another line which was having foreign key, some employee ID, whatever it is, I don't remember. So we have that line, that's why we have at that time we were giving this comma, but I have removed that line, that's why I have removed this comma also. And then let's run this program. As you can see here, it's showing is rows affected 0. Okay, and rows affected is 0, right? Which means that it has been created successfully. Okay, so now I have created all of the tables, right? I have created all of the tables like employee table, branch table, client table, works with table, and we have branch. So anyhow guys, table. That's all for this video. So we have created all of the tables, but in the next video I'm going to insert the data into the tables, right? So anyhow guys, that's all for this video. Thanks for watching this video, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you, bye bye.